In this special episode of the Cherry Sleuths, we will share 3 different cases. Our first case is one that still haunts the people of Houston to this day. The case involves a father who decided to ruin Halloween for everyone by devising a plan so sinister that it would shock the world. During 1974, on the night of Halloween Day in Pasadena, Texas, Timothy O'Brien would go out trick-or-treating with his sister, father, and a couple of neighborhood kids. What Timothy did not know was that this would be his last Halloween. Timothy was an 8-year-old boy who was just excited to spend the night trick-or-treating.
The night started with kids going house to house asking for candy. When they reached the house and got no answer, Timothy, along with the neighborhood kids and their parents, left to look for another neighborhood. This left Timothy's dad, Ronald O'Brien, all alone. A short while later, Ronald caught up with the group with 21-inch pixie sticks in his hand. He tells the group that he had gone back to one of the houses that they visited prior and they actually still had candy.
Ronald proceeds to hand each kid a piece of candy. As they headed home, Timothy asked for one more piece of candy before bed, so Ronald handed him another pixie stick. After Timothy told Ronald that the candy felt thick, Ronald broke up the pieces and told him to down the candy with Kool-Aid. An hour after complaining of stomach pains, Timothy was dead. Cops at the Pasadena Police Department got a call that an 8-year-old had died. The medical examiner immediately suspected cyanide was used to kill the boy since his breath smelled of almonds.
It's reported that Timothy had consumed enough cyanide to kill 2 people. When trying to figure out what poisoned Timothy, they tested all the candy he had that night. In the last piece of candy, which was the pixie stick, they found that it was filled with cyanide. Officers were able to confiscate the rest of the pixie sticks that Ronald handed out to other kids, including Timothy's sister. Officers were able to tell the pixie sticks had been tampered with because the tops were stapled shut. One kid's life was saved after he was too weak to open the pixie stick.
In order to find where the pixie sticks came from, police officers had to get help from Ronald O'Brien. They brought Ronald back to the neighborhood he said he was at and asked him to show which house he got the pixie sticks from. He was apparently stumped on which house it was. Police grew suspicious of Ronald and started to suspect him as the perpetrator. They continued to ask him for details. Eventually, he was able to give them a person of interest. They arrested the man at his place of work, but when they brought him in for questioning, he had an alibi for that night. The man had been working that night and headed home to his family after. The police suspicions of Ronald amplified after hearing this.
They began to pursue Ronald as the number 1 suspect of his son's murder. When looking into Ronald, they found out that he had purchased a life insurance policy on his son and daughter worth $40,000. After accounting for inflation, that would be $222,563.89 in today's dollars. Looking deep into his life, they found that he was $100,000 in debt and was on the brink of being fired again. In the past 10 years, he was known for not being able to hold down a job for that long, and that he had been previously fired from 21 jobs.
Cops thought this was enough motive as to why he killed his son. All the pieces of the case were beginning to come together. After securing a warrant to search Ronald's house, cops discovered a pair of scissors that had similar material to the pixie sticks found with cyanide. This was enough to bring Ronald in for questioning. When looking for clues on what happened, the cops spoke to a professor at community college who said that Ronald asked him about different poisons.
They learned that a man walked into a chemical company to find out what was the smallest amount of cyanide poison he could purchase. He left when told it was 5 pounds. Trying to find evidence to pin the murder on Ronald was difficult because the equipment in 1974 was not advanced enough to tie evidence together to prove that he did it. On June 3, 1975, Ronald went to trial and pleaded not guilty. It took the jury only 46 minutes to declare Ronald O'Brien guilty of killing his son and 4 counts of attempted murder. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
Our next segment covers the case of Chelsea Bruck. She was just a 22-year-old woman and trying to enjoy her Halloween night when her life was taken from her. Chelsea was one of the many attendees of a massive Halloween party held on October 26, 2014 in Monroe County, Michigan. The party was a popular community event that happened every year. It was held in a cornfield near Big Mike's, the party organizer's farmhouse. Chelsea went dressed as the popular Batman character Poison Ivy. She worked hard on her cosplay and hoped to win Best Costume at the party.
Since Chelsea did not have her own car or even a driver's license, she depended on her friend, Becky, as transportation. Upon arrival, Chelsea decided to leave her cell phone and purse in Becky's car since her costume did not have pockets. Although there were pictures of Chelsea appearing to have fun at the party, she eventually got hurt and wanted to leave early. While intoxicated, she accidentally ran into a post, crushing her nose in the process. As blood was gushing from her nose, she told her friends that she felt disoriented and wanted to go home.
Her friends refused to leave as they were still enjoying themselves and felt like the night was still young. Chelsea's only option was to wait for her friends to be ready to leave. Around 1 a.m. that night, Chelsea's friends ended up leaving without her after they got separated. Witnesses reported that they were still seeing Chelsea at the party around 3 a.m. They said that they saw her crying, explaining that she had been abandoned by her friends and needed a way to get home.
On October 28th, Brooke's family reported her missing, and Chelsea's mother, Linda, went to Big Mike's farmhouse, demanding to search it. Big Mike told her that she was allowed to do so even while he was away. When he returned, he came to a search party of 15 people who claimed that they would not leave until she was found.
Chelsea's family was convinced that Big Mike had a hand in her disappearance. They claimed that she was being held hostage in his basement since he did not allow anyone to search in his home, refused to take a polygraph, or even provide a sample of his DNA. The police eventually were able to obtain a warrant, but nothing was found that could tie Big Mike to Chelsea.
Fanatics came forward to give false details to Chelsea's murder. One man in particular, Harlan Bird, came forward to say that he chased off a group of men he saw harassing Chelsea at the party. He said he left Chelsea in his truck to go find help, but she was nowhere to be seen when he returned. He said that Chelsea still had a nosebleed when he found her, and that her blood dripped onto his shirt. When the police asked to examine the shirt, Harlan said that it had already been washed. The police were suspicious of Harlan's story because he recounted wrong details of Chelsea. One detail that stood out was the color of her hair. He continuously described her as having blonde hair, but she was wearing a wig to complete her Poison Ivy costume.
At this point, the police felt that Harlan must have been the killer and was trying to get recognition by volunteering to provide information. That was when a woman named Carrie Carr came forward with additional information. She was confident that her boyfriend was the cause of Chelsea's death. Carrie claims that her boyfriend confessed to kidnapping and killing Chelsea, and that if he knew that she went to the police, that he would kill her too. When the boyfriend was brought in for questioning, before the cops asked him anything, he told them immediately that Carrie was framing him. They never told him that Carrie was involved. Quickly afterward, Carrie admitted to making this whole story up.
Articles of Chelsea's costume and other evidence started to surface. On April 5, 2015, her Poison Ivy costume was found in an abandoned building by two men. On April 25, 2015, Chelsea's body was found buried on another property near Big Mike's farmhouse during a remodel. The most crucial piece of evidence was found on September 2, 2015. Chelsea's leggings still had DNA samples that were able to be used to connect her to an unknown male. Detectives were able to confirm that Big Mike, Harlan Bird, and Carrie Carr's boyfriend were innocent.
Chelsea's murderer was found to be Daniel Clay. During initial interrogations, Daniel claimed to not have seen her at the party. Detectives were able to get him to talk by lying to him, saying that Chelsea suffered from brittle bone disease and that they thought Chelsea's murder was really an accident. Daniel felt comfortable enough to say that while they were intimate, he accidentally choked her too hard. During his trial, however, Brooke's autopsy revealed that she suffered facial injuries from being beaten. The judge and jury knew that Brooke's death was no incident. On May 16, 2017, Daniel Clay was found guilty of first-degree murder, which is an automatic life sentence without parole in Michigan.
In our final segment, we will examine a case about a woman and man who turned a night of fun into a night of horror. The night of June 9, 2013, the victim, 59-year-old Stefan Anderson, was a UH professor and biochemist. To everyone around him, he seemingly lived a normal life. The suspect, 44-year-old Anna Trudeau, a single mother of 2 daughters, did not know that from then on she would be known to the world as the Stiletto Killer.
The two went out to a bar. In testimony from Anna, she stated that after a couple of drinks, Stefan began to get violent with her, to the point where she felt like she had to protect herself. Anna claimed that this was not the first time that Stefan has gotten violent with her. She claims that it was typical for him to get this way when he drank. In what she says was self-defense, she pulled off her 5.5-inch size 9 stiletto heel and proceeded to stab Stefan 25 times in the face and head.
Like many people, Anna felt like Stefan had grown to become a person she no longer recognized from whom she first met. She took every opportunity to remind everyone of this. The prosecutor of the case, John Jordan, accused Anna of slandering Stefan's name for her own gain without any proof to back it up, stating, quote, "Send the message that in our community, when you beat a man to death for no reason, when you come into a courtroom and you slaughter his good name, that we in Texas are going to hold you accountable."
When looking at the crime scene, it was not a crime of passion, but a calculated attack where she, quote, "pinned him down and repeatedly stabbed him with her shoe while he never fought back." During the trial, people noticed that Trujillo did not have any bodily evidence that she had been abused by Stefan. On the other hand, Stefan's autopsy showed that he had defensive wounds on his hands and wrists. Despite all this, Anna insists that she killed Stefan in pure self-defense and that she, quote, "did what she had to."
When listening to the 911 call, prosecutors did not believe Anna was in immediate danger for her to act out like that. People who spoke on Stefan's house said he was a funny and gentle man, and that what Anna was saying about him was completely false. Although Stefan did have a drinking problem, he was not the type to get violent during his drinking, and that he was a mild-mannered man. Anna was actually the one that changed as the relationship went on.
According to renowned true crime writer Catherine Casey, quote, "Anna had become immersed in the dark powers, playing with Ouija boards, calling on spirits, and conducting rituals where she changed over a drawing of a pentagram with lit candles at the corners." Anna was actually seen changing for a couple of years at this point. Many people reported that Anna could be seen keeping a voodoo doll tucked inside her bra to put curses on whatever she desired. The night Stefan died, Anna wrote notes to conjure a spirit. A tarot book was found open to the death card in the purse she carried that night.
Those close to Stefan said that he was trying to distance himself from Anna due to her behavior. Stefan never got what he wanted. Instead, his relationship ended with him killed in a hallway by the hands of whom he was supposed to be his lover. Anna was sentenced to 5 years to life. She would be eligible for parole in 30 years.
Thank you for tuning into our special Halloween episode. We wanted to share cases with you that had a lasting impact on how people celebrate Halloween and ones located near our city. We hope you enjoyed it. Please check out our YouTube channel under the same name, the Cherry Sleuths, to see our Halloween set. Thanks again. Bye, guys. Bye.